Shabbat shalom, everybody. All right, we're going to start off with a prayer. Father, y'all, we come before you right now. Just thank you right now for just waking us up this morning, closing our right mind. Thank you right now for just rocking us this day. And we just thank you in the name of Son, Yahushua Mashiach, we pray. So be it. Right, Shabbat shalom again.
Shabbat shalom.
Hallelujah. This is High Shabbat. And it's our last day, so we're just trying to climax this day. We're gonna go out with a bang. Just always giving thanks unto Yahuwah in the name of His Son, Yahushua Mashiach. And we're gonna kind of go off into looking at like now, even though the day is right now, we're doing our Sukkah, our Feast of Tabernacles, but we're not gonna really minister about the Feast of Tabernacles. We're gonna kind of stay with the Ruach. We're gonna kind of touch on it a little bit to give people that are understanding that don't know about it. But we're gonna get into a wicked nation, a stiff-necked generation. The people are fading out. The people are getting away from the things of Yah, getting away from the fear of Yah. And in the process of everything we're doing, we got to make sure that it's coupled with the fear of Yah and it'll keep us from doing things that we wouldn't do. So it's like we're going to get into a few scriptures really here to kind of give a briefing. But I got a nugget first. And the first nugget I got is coming from Exodus. Is going to talk about when the children of Israel began to come out of the house of bondage and come from Egypt, the Most High began to actually set aside Judah for a certain cause. Even at this point, this is during the time of coming from the house of bondage. A lot of scriptures, a lot of people overlook. And the more you begin to realize who you are as a people, is why I kind of keep touching on that, the more you realize who the Most High was talking to in the Bible in the beginning until the door was open for others. Even though they came out with a mixed multitude, Most High began to institute laws that set certain standards for the mixed multitude, the stranger, everybody that wasn't Israel, plus Israel, and even unto the priests. So we're going to look at the order of Yah a little bit and look at what he did for Judah, even in the beginning, even before we begin to be a nation, he began to set them aside. So let's look at Exodus chapter 31. Exodus chapter 31. We're going to start off at the first verse, stopping at the 5th verse. This is just basically the Most High establishing some work ethic inside of Judah. It's like we were always good with our hands, building stuff, laying bricks and stuff like that. So he's going to show the craft that we have. And we have an anointing to be crafted based on this scripture. This isn't just something I'm throwing out of nowhere, like just assuming because you see a lot of us working. But it's already a work ethic put inside us from the beginning. The Most High gave it to us. He gave us certain wisdom to use our hand back at that point, and it never left. He ordained us basically to be able to build things and stuff of that nature. So let's look at Exodus chapter 31, verse 1 through 5. Maybe 113. You can get it because I'm pretty much you start whenever you get it.
And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, See, I have called by name Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Korah, in the tribe of Yehudah. And I have filled him with the Ruach Elohim in wisdom, and in understanding, and in knowledge, and in all manner of workmanship.
Pause it there. I know that's in the middle of it. So basically say, fill him in wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and in all manner of workmanship. And we've been known to work hard already. And like we think this just comes out of nowhere. The reason why we don't think about this stuff because we've been dumbed down. Everything's been pretty much put in a position where it's been whitewashed to a point where we just think that we just take a second, like we take a back seat or whatever. And the Most High never intended for us to take a back seat of, so he would never gave us this anointing. And this anointing say all manner of workmanship. So therefore, it's not just a coincidence that we build stuff, that we work with our hands. Like when they came and got us, we were already good at doing stuff. We rebuilt a whole lot of things. We rebuilt this whole nation. We built this nation. So they came and got us. All we had to do was kind of get, I guess, molded into the language to communicate with them. But we were building stuff, but we came here as slaves. And that's the thing. So we came here in the beginning, we weren't slaves before they got us. So what were we doing then? We were building our own stuff. And we came and they got us to start building their stuff and start helping them, till their gardens and all this stuff way before they got the machines and stuff. So we were always good with our hands. Go ahead.
4, to devise cunning works, to work in gold and in silver and in brass, and in cutting of stones, to set them in carving of timber, to work in all manner of workmanship.
And that's it. So basically, this is just showing you, even at this point, this is in Exodus, way back when they came out of Mizraim. The Most High had anointed Judah to actually begin to build stuff and begin to work and do stuff with their hands. So it's like we were already anointed to work prior to getting here. We have been anointed way in the back, but we don't think about that because once again, they have us stopping with we was a slave. If you go further than being a slave and begin to look at who you were as a people, you'll realize that you didn't start being no slave. You came here and got put in bondage. And you got put in bondage based upon the disobedience of your ancestors, but that's not where your history starts. But our history starts there based on our mentality because we don't go backwards and research to a point where we came in the beginning already outworking everybody, using our hands and doing things of that nature. So they got us for the very cause. It's like we think that they taught us this. They didn't teach us anything. They just forced their language on us. We were already building stuff. Ain't but one or two ways to build certain stuff. I mean, it's not, you can go all around the world and people are using different code, but it's the same standard. You start from the foundation on up and that's it. So it's like, it's nothing new, for us, to actually get here and help build America when we already built everything that, we had back in our days. That's why I wanted to go to Exodus to show you in Exodus where we began to be anointed by Yah in all manner of workmanship. So he anointed Judah way back right when they came out of Mizraim. So Judah was already anointed to use their hand. So it wasn't nothing that we got here in America and started doing this. We got here and was used because of who we were. They knew, like I say, back in the people of Yah, with that message. If you go back and look at the people of Yah, when they came and got us, from where, say, the kingdom of Judah, when they came and got us in West Africa, they already knew who they was coming to get. They said, these are brilliant people. These people are already crafted with their hands. They already know. They came and got people to work. They wouldn't remember, they came to get slaves. They wouldn't just come to get just people that's nothing. They came to get people that can actually perform the task they needed. They need people that can actually do things, not people that just would. So we wasn't dumb. Like they try to make it like we didn't know anything. Like, a slave make you think he's just an ignorant, dumb dog. But no, they came and got an intelligent group of people that just didn't know their language. That's the only difference. You know what I'm saying? They didn't want us to read, but we were trying to read their writing. We already knew where our writing was and our language was, but we had to get here to function as a people. And so they came and got a people that was already migrant people, already people that was already building stuff, interesting stuff. We was already doing everything we need to do where we was, but we got sold out because of disobedience. So like history teaches us that it starts here, but it doesn't start here. It started thousands of years ago. Here is just where we started in America. And this is where we have to stop thinking that your history starts in America and your history starts 400 years ago. Come on, man. We got to think deeper than that. If we think like that, then we're always going to start with slavery. You got to start pre-slavery. Prior to being a slave, what was going on? We were using our hands. And this is where the anointing was right here. He put the anointing on Judah. He said, with all manner of wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and workmanship. And that's something he separated them at that point, even then. And who is Yahushua Mashiach? He's a lion out of the tribe of Judah. And so we have to look at it. It's like when you dig deep, what happens is it's offensive to certain ones that want to force stuff on you, but when you want to find out what you need to find, they say it doesn't matter. Well, it mattered that you whitewashed everything. It mattered that you turned everything the opposite way of what it was. So it's like, why doesn't it matter? Why shouldn't we research who we were as people? That's my thing. That's been a burden upon me to really let people realize that the book was talking to you. It wasn't just talking to anybody different. That's why Yahushua Mashiach sounded disrespectful when he told a lady, it's not lawful to give the children bread unto dogs. It wasn't nothing personal. He said he came for us. It wasn't that it was something wrong, but she just had a certain level of faith when she said the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the table. And he said, okay, it was great faith at that time that made him move on her request, but he came for us. We rejected him, so he had to turn unto them, but he never got to a point where he just turned to the point where we just don't matter. That's why Paul begins to minister in the book of Romans, say he has not cast away his people. Yah forbid, so we still here. It's like, and there's a people of Yah, and then there's a physical and a spiritual Israel. This is what the church don't want to accept that it's two. They want to make it all spiritual. It's not all spiritual. It's just that we have to put the spirit upon us and be regrafted into Yahushua Mashiach, but we're not grafted. You can't change your complexion like that. You can't change your complexion. That's why when Moshe began to put his hand in there, in what is it, the bosom, like that, and it come back out, lippers, you know what I'm saying, like that. So it's like everything that you have going on, you point to all the signs, it all leads back to the idea that everything that the Most High did was by design. It wasn't a coincidence that Yahushua Mashiach comes out of the tribe of Judah. So I had to share that right there so we can get an understanding of what's going on in the process of this, and at what point is a break off. When the nation begin to break down, we're not going to get into that, but I will say that sticking with the point right here, the people was with Yah, saw the miracles, they saw everything go on, they were still what I would say a wicked nation, a stiff-necked generation. Like even now, like y'all do something for us, but then we'll look back a couple weeks later and start doubting, saying, okay, what's going to happen now? The same thing that happened then, you just have to trust him this time. It's just another time to trust him, because this is going to be a battle until we leave here. It's never going to be a time where you don't have to depend on Yah. You want to depend on Yah because, you know, it just goes back to Psalm 91. He that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. This is the thing. So you want to make sure that you're under his protection. It's kind of like having a pavilion. When you have that pavilion, it's not going to stop the rain, but it's going to stop the rain from getting on you. Like when you have a shelter, it's not going to stop, you know, like I would say, like when you have prep and the food or something like that set up, it's not going to stop you from being hungry, because the fact that you have that, it's just that the famine doesn't reach you because you pre-prepared and you prepped everything, you got everything ready where you're not worried about it, you know, the fact of starving. So it's like just like the umbrella, you know, it just only stop the rain from getting on you. Certain shelter just keep you sheltered from the storm, but the storm still goes on. So it gives you a sense of security. And that's the idea of Yah when it comes to his people, when he said, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. But the problem is we have to make us his. That's the thing. We have to make ourselves become his. We have to make ourselves become a part of him by actually dedicating ourselves to him, kind of like Hannah when she did Samuel, when she said, give me him, open back up my womb, and I dedicate him unto you. And I'm gonna send him once he's weaned to the house of Eli so he can minister at your house. That's the thing. But she said, I just need you to give him to me and I'm gonna give him back to you. And that's the thing. So he's given us life. Now we want to give our life back to him. That's the thing. Once you give your life back to him, it's like, you know, you present your body like that Romans 12:1 as a living sacrifice, holding itself under Yah, which is your reasonable service. And it say, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. You can't be transformed by renewing your mind if you don't realize what kind of mind frame you're supposed to be coming from. So we're going to look at a few of these scriptures here. For anybody that really don't, I guess, understand about Sukkot, we'll just kind of give a real quick, you know, briefing of it. Let's look at Leviticus chapter 23, starting at the 33rd verse. And it's basically just giving a brief understanding of what it's, you know, like what do you do during Sukkot? We know that this is our 7th day. So this would be the High Shabbat. We know the first one was 8th day, which this is our last day, basically. I meant to say not 7th day. And so let's get on Leviticus chapter 23. And because we know a lot of us may get it, but people that may watch this later, they may not understand some stuff that we already got a clear understanding of. So remember, keep in mind that we're going to post this on YouTube for those that don't know anything about it, about Sukkot at all. So we'll look at Leviticus chapter 23 and the 33rd verse, and that is 153.
Yahuwah spoke unto Moshe, saying, speaking to the children of Yashral, saying, the 15th day of the 7th month shall be feast of Sukkot for 7 days unto Yahuwah. On the first day shall be a holy assembly. You shall do no servile work therein. 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. Now on the 8th day should be a holy assembly unto you, and you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. It is a solemn assembly, and you shall do no servile work therein. Keep going.
Do you stop there?
36.
Okay, yeah, that's it. We just kind of just wanted to give an idea, you know, just to let them know, just a briefing for people that may not even know about it, but I didn't want to minister on the Sukkot because that's kind of, we're doing it in remembrance and we're doing it based on it. We were still back at our land. We would still be doing this stuff rather than the holidays that they pressed upon us. Like we don't do Christmas, Halloween, and any of that stuff. So we want to replace the feast days. We want to place the feast days in the place of all those holidays they gave us. You know, we don't do any pagan holidays. So we want to make sure we go back and do the feast days and remembrance, because certain days you're supposed to be in Jerusalem. We understand that. But the thing is, we didn't have a problem when they forced all these other days on. It's like, you know how I get when you begin to tell people, hey, we're going to do this and that, they want to question it. They question all that stuff. Oh, well, y'all got to do that. Why you got to do that? But you ain't question Christmas. You ain't question Halloween. You ain't question Thanksgiving. You ain't question Valentine's Day. You ain't question all these sibling days and every day they've given you. But you got to question what you are. That's like you question yourself. That's why I started this off with going to the anointing that he gave Judah. It's in the disrespect of the tribe, but Judah got anointed in that verse I went to. And Judah was the one he gave the workmanship anointing and the crap, and it matches up with us working with our hands. And that's why, you know, it matches up with us being hard workers. We meant to be hard workers. He gave it to us. It's anointing on us. That's why you see most brothers, they getting it, grinding, you know. Okay, yeah. So, but anyway, let's look at Exodus chapter 11. And basically we're gonna get into starting at the 4th verse. You can read when you get it. I'm just gonna keep talking. So Exodus chapter 11, starting at the 4th verse, this is when the last plague is prophesied. At this point, all the firstborn are going to be killed. And at this point, we have all the plagues that went forth, and it took this to actually get to a point where I can't really just say Pharaoh broke, because the scripture kept saying the Most High heart and Pharaoh's heart. So, basically he's using Pharaoh, like he created the wicked one for the evil day, and he's using Pharaoh to help his people so they can see the power of him, basically. So it's like not fair, but at the same time, these people are already wicked. They're already doing what he don't want people to do. They're already worshiping false idols and stuff like that. So you can read if you got it. So this is when the last plague is prophesied. It's going to be Exodus chapter 11, starting at the 4th verse, and we're going to stop at the 8th verse. Page 9.
11, 4 through 8.
I may stop at 7, but we're going to still read the 8th one after. So.
And Moshe said, thus says Yahuwah, about midnight will I go out to the midst of Mizraim, and all the firstborn in the land of Mizraim shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sits upon his throne, even to the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of beasts. And there shall be a great cry throughout the land of Mizraim, such as there was none like it, nor shall it be like it anymore. But against any of the children of Yashrael shall not a dog move his tongue, against man or beast, that ye may know how that Yahuwah puts a difference between the Mizraim and Yashrael.
Pause it, that's it. I just want to stop there for a minute. Now, this is the part that really touched my heart when it says that not a dog should move his tongue. He was showing the separation. He said, nothing will happen to my people. And, he said, nothing will happen to my people. So basically, we're looking at the idea of knowing that when he began to say this is showing that there should be a difference between Mizraim and Israel. He wanted to make sure that my people are separated. So this is one of my nuggets that I want to say, like, it's about being separated. And this is the catch, it's like, it's not about joining to anything that's not Yah. It's about separating from anything that's not like Yah. You want to make sure that you're set apart. And if you're set apart, then you don't have to worry about, anything happen to you of that nature, that the Most High is going to keep you from, like all this stuff going on that we see going on, the jab and all this stuff. If you're set apart for Yah, he's going to give you the knowledge, information, and understand you need where you're not harmed. And this thing, so if we don't think that, then it's like we don't really trust Yah. So it's like when something new comes out, that's supposed to diminish Yah. They're supposed to make him come off his throne because they made some new thing. Like, at what point do we realize he's still greater? He's still greater than the next thing that comes out. They have something out that make people just fall and faint and thin air. He's still greater. So it doesn't matter what they come out with. It just matters. That means that even more you need to make sure you're in Yah. The problem is not that they're coming out with stuff, is that people are not set apart. They're not separated. And the scripture just say he wanted to make sure that there's a difference between Mizraim and Yashrael. And so I'm going to go, let's look at 2 Corinthians chapter. I know that was another one, but I think that would be it for that. Let's look at 2 Corinthians chapter 6, 17 and 18 verse. And we're kind of talking about being separated unto Yah, because this is the catch. The stiff-necked people here that we're reading about, it's like they was with Yah while Moses was there with them. Once Moses leaves off, we'll read, they start back doing what they were doing in the beginning. It's almost like it's not instilled in them to realize that you can still serve Yah if someone else isn't around. You don't have to have somebody right there with you constantly beating it in your head, let you know that Yah is still real. He's still going to help you. You need to know this based on the miracles they already ate. They done went through the wilderness and all this, and they're still trying to operate as a stiff-necked people. It's like, we'll get into that a little more, but we're going to get into the actual being separate, being set apart. That's going to be the key, because you're set apart. I know there's a lot of talking, but I got to bring it home. You set apart. It's like, if you own something, you're going to protect that thing you own. Like, if I got my car, if I got my children, I got my home, I'm not just going to just not do anything. I'm going to make sure I take care of them and do the things it takes to clean up. I'm going to make sure that I keep the oil change. If it's a car, put tires on. You're not just going to let it go and just be, destroyed. You're going to actually care for it. And just like you care for your personal item, you make yourself Yah's personal item. When you begin to do that, then he's going to care for you. The more you get close to Yah, the more he's going to begin to get close. Like the scriptures say, draw nigh to Yah, he will draw nigh to you. This is the golden nugget right here. Separate yourself. Separate yourself unto Yah, and to a point where you know that you and him has some form of relationship where he's dealing with you and you're dealing with him. And at that point, he'll keep you from all the stuff that's going on. If something happens to you, it won't happen to your destruction. It'll happen for you to be able to grow from it and to learn. So This is what we got to look at. And that's what's going to help us. Other than that, the next thing that comes out, we're going to be frightened again. It's like, this is not going to stop. That's why I say we're in this world, but not of this world. We can't focus on what they're doing. We got to focus on who we're doing what we're doing for and who we're serving. That's the thing. Who are we? And who do we belong to? That's the thing. So if you belong to Yah, the world is not going to stop coming out with all this stuff. It's going to keep coming out more and more. It doesn't talk about getting better. It talk about getting worse. And to the point where we say, I'm going to have to shorten the days for the elect's sake. So it's not going to get better. What's going to have to happen? People are going to have to wise up and get close to Yah. If you don't get close to Yah, you're going to fall into the trap. You're going to die from something like this. And this is the way I'm looking at it. The way I view this right here. Now that I don't pray for others, and when people come in, the people that I'm connected to, I believe that Yah is going to protect every last one, especially in the household. This is the thing, because this is the catch. The private time you spend with Yah, and you find you a place to get, this is just a side note, to get, separate from everything that's going on, get in you a quiet place and begin to just praise Yah, begin to just worship Yah, make that place a sanctified place. You can begin to get close to him. And at that point, Yah begin to be growing fond of you even more. And it's like it's something you can't teach this to nobody. The person had to have the desire to do it, because it's foolish to those that walk in the flesh. But the flesh people die. Every time I turn around, somebody say, my this died of this, they died of that, they got shot, they died of the destruction thing that's going on out here. We don't want to talk about, so much stuff going on out here with the pandemic and stuff. That's not supposed to put us in a panic. That's supposed to make us get wise and get closer unto Yah. So the closer we get to Yah, the more we don't have to worry about that. We'll find favor on the job anywhere. It's like no matter what's going on, Yah begin to touch people's heart and say, okay, look, no matter how many people are mad, he won't let them tell you to do what everybody else doing, because you got favor, because you belong to Yah. Because Yah touched this man's heart and he wouldn't do it. He'll let him get fired before he go against you. And another boss will come in and respect what you need to do. That's how it goes. It's like, and that's because you're staying inside of Yah. There's no limits to what he'll do for people that's in him. It's like the sky ain't even the limit. He the limit like that. So it's like, if he said that sells, it doesn't matter what nobody thinks or nothing. You have to, at this day and time, you got to move by faith. And if you're not going to move by faith, then it's like you're pretty much going to be caught up in, in the disaster that's going on. Let's get into that 2 Corinthians chapter 6, 17 and 18. We're kind of trying to touch base on being separate.
Wherefore come out from among them and be ye separate, says Yahuwah, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and you shall be my sons and daughters, says Yahuwah Sabaoth. And
so we say, touch not the unclean thing, then I will receive you. The problem is a lot of us touching the unclean thing. That's the thing. And like we say unclean, that can go down to so many levels. We try to look at stuff, all physical substance stuff. Like we talk about everything. Like you have a lot of stuff that you don't even know that can be dedicated unto stuff. I remember going to deliver something to somebody before a little while back, maybe probably a couple of days ago or so, if I'm not mistaken. And I looked at the floor mat, I looked at the outside, there was a whole lot of paganism stuff they had pumpkins and all kind of stuff. But then there was something that caught my attention. It was a mat, and the mat had Ouija written on it, and it had some other stuff. And it was like the floor mat, it had Ouija written on it. And I put the stuff there, but at the time, the Most High was just showing me that if this person is not aware of this, then they've let the threshing floor of their home begin to allow whatever that's going on through that portal to be upon them as they walking into this house like that. So it's like, and at that point, if I was to actually have to deal with somebody that I saw had that, I can't go further than that threshold until they move that and destroy it or get it out of the way. You know what I'm saying? And even then, I probably wouldn't want to deal with it. I'm just saying, it had it on there. It had a picture of it, and it had the word written on a black mat said Ouija. And it was all kind of other stuff like pumpkins and stuff like that. And I saw it. I'm like, what's going on with this? Like that. But I'm just saying, it had Ouija written on it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking like, man, this is something. This is the thing. That's another example of the unclean thing. Like we just try to think all physical stuff and like that. We have to look at, quit ignoring the spirit realm. Because even at the time of what we're looking at with Moshe and them got going on when he was going through the promised land, there was an angel that went before them. It's like we have X'd out all the spiritual stuff because we've been dumbed down to think that now, since Yahushua Mashiach came, the Most High doesn't use his messages no more. He uses them, we just don't worship them. That's why I say, if our angel from Shamayim preach any other gospel, let him be accursed. So we're not supposed to be like Hebrews say, you may be unaware, you entertain a stranger, you may be entertaining the angel. So it's like we can't think on the earth level. Like, like we got to realize that we're just in this body, it's just a shell, that we are spirit beings, like we are the Ruach. And if you realize that, you won't think all carnal all the time. Like everything got to be so physical all the time. Like you in this physical world, but you have to keep your eyes open to the things that happen and the signs that happen, because if you don't, then you just, just be prey for the spiritual realm. That's the thing. So we have powers, the dark powers and the light powers. And the powers that are of light are waiting on certain commands from Yah to do certain things when you get in alignment. But those powers don't respect being out of line. That's the problem. And so, that's a whole nother metric within itself. Yah has an order. And if you're out of order, the powers that be that's out here don't respect that right there. They look at it like, okay, you can be finna get in a wreck. I'm just gonna go through the Ruach for a minute. You can be getting in a wreck or something, and he may have his message that to do something or to change something. But since you got all out of order, the wreck happens and you got wind up getting in the hospital and you almost die. And now you got this big testimony that you would have avoided half of that and just talked about how the wreck didn't come to you, but you wasn't in Yah. Or either you wasn't in Yah, or you wouldn't awake to the realm that's out here. There's a realm that's going on. Like, we can't equate the Ruach in the realm that's going on to witchcraft. Like, we got to realize that everything isn't evil, but we can't operate in evil. We have to look at the power of lights. The father of lights is Yahuwah. He's the one that created all these powers. Every power that be a subject unto him. He said, I created the wicked one for the evil day. So we have to look at everything that's going on out here, and to the point where we know that as we walk around here on this earth, that we're not just out here and not covered. No, we have to make sure that we're covered. Basically, it goes back to that. And if you're covered, then you don't have that to worry about. You're not covered if you just call on him only when something is wrong. You have to have some form of regular relationship with him. You have to put your hand to some form of plow, even if it's a certain time dedicated. Hey, I'm doing something. It don't matter if it's 2 minutes, it's something, because people are not doing anything. And then they're getting sick looking for the world to help them. Like they got the answer. They don't have the answer. What they have is a harder way for you to go. And when you begin to go that route for the answer, then you have to deal with all the whiplash and everything that's going to happen based on making that decision that they told you to make. And now you're sick. So it's like, anyway, just got to stay separate. This is a lot, but we're dealing with a stiff neck, a wicked generation, a wicked nation. And it's something how the Most High just brought Israel out of the house of bondage. And soon as Moses disappeared in the mountain, they get Aaron to fashion a calf. I'm like, it was moments ago, pretty much. It may have been like a day or so. Now they turn back and they want to have some physical item to actually call, an object to call, the Elohim unto them instead of just actually, saying it. Look out, son. Like that. Let's go to Exodus chapter 20, 1 through 6. So in Exodus 21 through 6, as you turn to that, that's going to explain how the Most High already told them, no graven images, don't make anything, that look like it's from Shamayim and put it before you. Don't do anything like that. This is all being told to them prior to fashioning this golden calf, and they agreed to it. As soon as it seemed like the Most High wasn't there, they went off doing the same thing he said don't do. And that's where we get that stiff-necked generation, because the commandments he was writing said, I am a jealous Yah. There should be no other Yah before me. You created something that you call Yah when you fashioned this calf. Well, Aaron fashioned it, but you actually gave him the gold from your children and stuff to actually, make this and to melt this down. And something Aaron doesn't get in trouble, but the people gets in trouble. So it's like, it's why we have to be careful who we mislead, because we may not get in trouble for something, but the next person that do it, they wind up getting in trouble because of the fact that they were misled by somebody that has a covenant on them that they can't understand, because they seeing them carnally. They seeing Aaron as a man. That's the problem where people mix up at. They try to control who Yah anoints and who he don't. He said, I'll be gracious to whom I'll be gracious. I'll have mercy from whom I'll have mercy. And it's like Aaron, he had mercy on. He had mercy on Aaron, during the time with Miriam. Remember when Miriam began to be turned into a leper because Moses married the Ethiopian? Like that. And it's like, who got the leper put on, who turned to a leper? with Miriam. Aaron was right there too, complaining and saying the same thing. Once again, Aaron doesn't get in trouble. That's 2 times. Aaron don't get in trouble. He actually fashioned the golden calf, didn't get in trouble. People got killed after this. Aaron didn't get in trouble. Miriam got turned into white as snow, a leper, and Aaron didn't get in trouble. It's because the Most High is using Aaron. This is the problem. This is why, and it's not fair, but this is where people mix up at. They assume that just because they see you, that it's going to be the exact same thing, but that's not how the Most High operates. Not that the person wants to take that chance, but there's a certain time where the Most High, certain ones are just certain things you'll see people do, and you're like, what happened? It's not that nothing never happens to them, but it's that certain things is just for certain people, and some stuff you just have to know where your lane is. And when you begin to jump out of it, the Most High will fix you for it. And that's what happened. They began to talk against Moses at that point, and the Most High checked Aaron, but he didn't do nothing to him. He didn't punish him. He just said, you know, y'all spoke against him, but Miriam was the one that got punished because Aaron has this anointing on him. And the Most High don't go back on his word. So he can't have his anointed man walking around as a leper. That right here. So let's go. So we're going to look at Exodus chapter 21-6 and look at him already telling them not to do this before we get to that point.
Elohim spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahuwah Eloheka, which has brought you out of the land of Mizraim, out of the house of bondage. And ye shall have no other Elohim before me. Ye shall not make unto you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down yourself to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahuwah Eloheka, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and guard my commandments.
So basically, it's the same thing. So it's the same thing we bow down to the world, bow down to all the falsehood. Once you wake up, to much is given, much is required. I can't go backwards in my understanding to appease people that wants to stay stuck. That's the same thing. And then people that that don't want to be stuck, they have to grab hold to what I'm saying or other individuals saying so they can wake up, because once you learn something, you can't, you know, just unlearn it. You know what I'm saying? Like if I learned the truth, I learned the truth. It's not to force the truth on the next individual, but it's the people that grab hold to the truth. I plant another water, but it's Yah that's going to give it increase. But I can't stop speaking the truth because you still want to worship the image that your grandmama put on the wall like that. That's up to you if you want to believe that. But I can't stop believing what I know to be true now just to appease somebody else, whether it be a family member or some minister, whatever. That's on them. Not forcing anything on them, but at the same time, I'm not going to bow to what they're saying. I'm going to stand my ground. I'm standing down. So it's like, you know, you have to make sure, you know, that you actually, you know, stand your ground, because what happens is once I begin to go backwards, then now I'm held to a higher accountability, because I know in my heart of heart that it's all lies that they would tell. I know for a fact it is. I have proof, and I know in the Ruach, you know what I mean, like that. So it's like, you know, the Ruach inside of me bears witness with the information that I see plus what I'm reading. And so so this is where he said don't do it. So let's get, we're gonna hold everybody. I know they have. Look at Exodus chapter 32. And we almost finished, y'all. Exodus 32. And so we're gonna get into the idea of what goes on. Probably days after Moses disappeared, they began to just go back like they never seen Yah before. He didn't brought them out of he didn't part of the Red Sea at this point. Pharaoh's people have been swallowed up. Everything that happened is like people forget about him. Now you're gonna build a calf. Like that's gonna help you. like after all the power, they walked on like dry land, and it's like they've seen everything go down. They've been fed and everything. Now it's to a point where a few days later they want to just turn it back and say, now what happened to Yah? He's no longer. They're gonna create something on their own that they can trust in, like kind of making a Buddha or something. Go ahead.
And when the people saw that Moshe delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, up, make us Elohim, which shall go before us. For as for this Moshe, the man that brought us up out of the land of Mizraim, we know not what is become of him. And Aaron said unto them, break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your women, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them unto me. And all the people broke off their golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graving tool. After he had made it a molten calf, and they said, these be your Elohim, O Yashraal, which brought you up out of the land of Mizraim. And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made proclamation saying, tomorrow is a feast to Yahuwah. And they rose up early on the morrow and offered ascending smoke offerings and brought peace offerings, and the people sat down to eat and to drink and rose up to play. And Yahuwah said unto Moshe, go, get you down, for your people, which you brought the land of Mizraim, have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made them a molten calf and have worshipped it and have sacrificed thereunto, said, these be your Elohim, O Yashraal, which I brought you up out of the land of Mizraim. And Yahuwah said unto Moshe, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may wax hot against them, and that I may consume them, and I will make of you a great nation.
And see, it's the thing. It looks like Aaron helped get him in trouble. Because like I say, he could have not fashioned. This once again shows how somebody else that's anointed, and you follow them just because they're of Yah don't mean that they have the best thing for you. They're doing what they're supposed to do, but it's like he bent. And when he bent, you know, it began to get them in trouble, because at this point, everybody got punished except for Aaron. Aaron was even promoting it even more. He just wanted to kind of get into it. At this point, from that point, he said, don't do it. Now at this point, they're doing it. And it's like they're creating something else that they made, you know, to say that this is what brought them out of Mizraim. Like for real, a calf like that, you know, something that that can't talk, that don't have no life or nothing. And you want to use this, it just shows the weakness of people. It's like they rather have something. Even if they know y'all disappeared for a minute, they'll create anything just to lead and guide them, just to say that they physically see something. It's the idea of having a lack of faith. Like you have to know that just because y'all is not, you know, you don't feel his presence or whatever it is, doesn't mean he's gone. You know, he's omnipresent. He's never gone. It's you that changed, not him. Like that. So it's like we have to look at the idea of making sure that we don't just forget what he has done just because something else is going on. Like one problem comes in, doesn't erase the problem that's being, you know, that just because we, you know, was delivered from some stuff or something happened years ago, and then now we see something that seems like it's bigger, we need to be delivered out of this situation. We think that now this is too big for y'all. Now he's gone and he's not here anymore. He's always here. It's just he's trying to wait to see what kind of way you're going to respond. And so if you respond in a way that's negative, then, you know, you don't get his presence, you don't get his help because you're making your own way. And so anyway, y'all got anything? Yeah. I know I was just talking. Okay, so we looked at that. And let's go to, we almost finished. Exodus 33. It's going to start at the first verse again.
And Yahuwah said unto Moshe, depart and go up hence, you and the people which you have brought up out of the land of Mizraim, to the land which I swore unto Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov, saying, unto your seed will I give it, for this Isaac and Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
And I will send an angel out before you, and I will drive out the Canaanites, the Amorites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, the Shivites, and the Jebusites.
Pause right there. Okay, so this is what I'm looking at here, showing that now this is what we forget about. This is old and new covenant. He said, I'm gonna send the angel out before you and drive him out. There's been time where angels done the battle, where the angels fought the war, but it's like when you're thinking on a surface level, you don't think that, you know, you think that it's like something spooky, but it's not nothing spooky. These are the messengers of Yah. These are the people, these are the things that he used, the creatures that he used to do things he need to do. It's not all you in the Ruach. That's the thing. That's what we got to get out of there understanding. And anybody that wants to think that that's just them that has to be, you know, relearned or figure out what they need to figure out through the Ruach. Some people may never get that. But if you really have some type of spiritual sense about yourself to look at what's been going on through the scripture, you'll realize nothing didn't just happen out of no one person all the time, and neither was it just them without no other type of power that they had, you know, something that was going on that seemed to be not natural. Like there's an axe head floating in the water, and you have, I think, Elijah throws a stick in there, and the axe head begins to float up, swim to him. So it's like, so we have to look at this stuff. We have to look at this stuff for, you know, knowing that it's not all, you know, just natural stuff going on all the time. Go ahead.
Into a land flowing with milk and honey, for I will not go up in the midst of you, for you are a stiff-necked people, lest I consume you in the way. When the people heard the evil report, they mourned, and no man put on him his ornaments. For Yahuwah had said unto Moshe, say unto the children of Yasharal, ye are a stiff-necked people. I will come up into the midst of you in a moment and consume you. Therefore, now put off your ornaments from you, that I may know what to do unto you. And the children of Yasharal stripped themselves of their ornaments by Mount Korah. And Moshe took the tabernacle and pitched it without the camp, afar off from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of the assembly. And it came to pass that everyone was
going too fast. I was trying to stop at the period. Yeah, it went straight. So basically, so we're looking at the actual the ornaments, the way we say the ornaments and stuff like that. It made me think about fringes, made me think about all the stuff that you can put on, the attire that you can wear, any priestly garments, anything that you can put on. None of that's going to stop anything. It's like, it's all extra stuff. That's why he took, get it away. I don't even want to see it like that. And at that point, it's supposed to begin to matter, because this is what they were doing based upon the order. Now, this is coming into the new covenant. So this is doing the old covenant before it actually starts at this point, where he's showing them at this point, I need you to be bare. I need to know for a fact that, you know, you need to be, you know, I'm going to say just basically bare before me so I can deal with you. I don't want to deal with the Urim and the Thummim. I don't want to deal with your fringe. I don't want to deal with anything but your heart. So I need to know whether or not, you know, that you're actually standing and not trying to trust in anything that I've told you to do. So I can't trust in my fringes, but I wear them as a remembrance. I wear them because I want to wear them, because I feel like I would be wearing them if I wasn't brought over into this nation. That's the reason why I wear them. But it doesn't save me. It doesn't get me into the Shamayim. I'm not going to go to hell if I don't have it. It's like, so we're going to stop that. It's like a lot of people don't realize you having that on and you have a wicked heart, you're going to wind up going to hell. That's the thing. So we have to make sure that, we realize that things don't save us. It's the matter of the heart in which we present ourselves with these things. And so, go ahead.
Read 7 again. And Moshe took the tabernacle, pitched it without the camp, afar off from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of the assembly. And it came to pass that everyone which sought Yahuwah went out into the tabernacle of the assembly, which was without the camp. And it came to pass when Moshe went out into the tabernacle that all the people rose up and stood every man at his tent door and looked after Moshe until he was gone into the tabernacle. And it came to pass as Moshe entered into the tabernacle, the cloudy pillar descended and stood at the door of the tabernacle, and Yahuwah talked with Moshe. And all the people saw the cloudy pillar stand at the tabernacle door, and all the people rose up and worshiped every man at his tent door. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe face to face as a man speaks unto his friend. And he turned again into the camp, but his servant Yahusha, the son of Nun, a young man, departed not out of the tabernacle.
And so it's showing that was Yahusha, which we call Joshua. That was actually Moses' servant. He was actually witnessing everything because he was going to be the next one up that the Most High was going to use. And so basically getting into a lot of this to say that people got to set an example. I know a lot of people got church hurt, and I had it before dealing with this stuff, but what happens is that gets people in a position where they're trying to be on the aisle and they get into a point where they don't think the Most High have people that can help them, that may be ordained by him. It's like they get to a point where they want to say, look, we anti any system. But at the same time, the Most High operates in system. Everything the Most High do is a system. We just looked at Moshe. The example that he set forth made the people start praising. When he said he went to his tent and y'all met him, the people also did the same thing. And they was following him. They needed that example. The people that don't need examples are ruining it for the people that do need examples. So we have people out here that don't know Yah. And there's so many people that may have a certain inkling or a certain relationship with Yah that they feel like they make and wing it on their own. What happens when they begin to spew that type of rhetoric into the people's ears that need somebody, they begin to fall by the wayside because they're not as strong as the person that's saying they can do it without anybody. Everybody ain't meant not to have leaders and not to have somebody to be able to help them. And people don't realize that we have a lot of know-it-alls. That's what I'm saying. Like we have people that feel like they can't be taught anything. Like you have to always be willing to be taught. You have to always be a student. And as long as you're a student, the teacher always shows up. And if you're actually always trying to be just a teacher and never hearing anything from anybody, I hear all kinds of people say stuff. And when I hear them, I'm just going to do what I would call eat the meat and spit out the bones. Now, there's certain people that have corrupt ruach that I may not be able to bear based upon them being rotten, but just basic people, just because somebody walks up and they tell me they're a Christian, it doesn't mean I'm not going to, communicate with them. I'm going to communicate and still keep my values. It's like, I'm not going to let them overtake me with what they're saying. I'm just going to listen to what they're saying and look and see how I can implement it into what we're supposed to be doing now. And if it can't be implemented, if it's something that's of any type of religious control or something, I just throw it out. I don't get mad because they're talking and telling me they still want to say Jesus and they still want to do it on Sunday. Whatever, that's on them. I'm not here to convince people that still want to do it. I'm here to convince people that want to change, that want to get into what we call the walk. They want to get into knowing that we are the people that Yah chose from the beginning. We are the ones that Yahushua Mashiach came for. And this is the problem with the Christian church. They don't want to accept that. They want to accept that the Jews that are over there now, that are over there in Jerusalem, are the people. And they want to accept that we're just Gentiles and we were just slaves and that's it. And it's okay, long as it's not saying it's us, they're fine. But when we begin to say it's us, now we're racist and all this kind of stuff, and that we're, we're not, human and everything like that. We're just being biased and all that. And that was never a problem when everything that their ancestors did turned everything and flipped everything around. But we want to investigate and find out something is wrong. Because if you look at this, when you begin to know your identity and know who you are, it begin to put you in position to say, okay, now I know that the Most High was talking to me, so it makes me feel better about doing things for Yah and doing, like the will of Yah, where I'm not actually just doing my own will. And if you begin to get away from your will and do Yah's will, then dedicate yourself. You got to dedicate yourself to studying, dedicate yourself to prayer. It's not about, it doesn't matter what people are thinking. You have to know it. It has to be known that the Most High is watching. You putting this time in, and it doesn't matter, like you getting paid for that. That's what the Most High do. And you see you putting in that work, putting in that time, and it's not about the moment. Like sometimes my wife would tell you, I studied for hours, sun come up, because that's just a desire. It don't be about what I'm doing. I get caught up into that finished with it. And I'm still trying to get more out of it and trying to dig more and deeper, because that's the hunger and the appetite that I have. That's what I asked the Most High to increase me with. I said, I want to be increased with the hunger I had when I first got saved. I want to be increased with that hunger. Give me more and more of that. So I want to have more of the word and more of the things that you find out more about the mysteries of you and everything. So it's like, when you begin to get in a position like that, the Most High begin to take a certain favor. He began to put upon your life, because you say, okay, you have set apart, you set yourself aside for me. So since you set yourself aside for me, you are mine. So I'm not going to let nobody bother what's mine. I'm not going to let nobody interrupt what's mine. I'm not going to let nobody interrupt the peace of somebody that belongs to me. And that's the case. That's what the enemy don't want. The enemy don't want us to understand, that the Most High operates in systems. He operates in systems in marriage. He operates in systems when you're not married. He operates in systems in areas of, when we would call just serving him in general. Like, we need one another. You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to confess our faults one to another. Like, we don't do none of this stuff because everybody wants to be private and everybody wants to make it on their own. But when you operate that way, then you have to fight the battle on your own. So it'll be hard. That's why I say one will chase 1,000 and two will put 10,000 to flight. And so we operate in unity. That's why I say forsake not to assemble yourself together. It don't mean that you got to belong to somebody or some physical institution, but we're supposed to come together. And when we don't do it, we say, well, that ain't no law. That don't matter. When we take on that mind frame, and what happens is, based on church hurt and stuff like I was saying, we say, okay, we can just do it by ourselves. We don't need nobody else. We wind up going into struggles that we could avoid it if we'd have had somebody we can call and say, look, I got this going on, or that going on. I need y'all to pray. Like a brother called me the other day, check and say, hey, I need you to pray for him, have, certain things going on. I knew at that point, that the Most High was showing me that, okay, it's not just about you. Like, people need other people. And that's the thing, we've been dumbed down to think we can just do it without nobody. But when everybody begin to come together as a whole and come together in unity, it begins to make a move of Yah begin to come upon us. You know what I'm saying? He began to move and operate. Like in the upper room, they were all on one accord. In the upper room, the Most High began to let the Ruach begin to be outpoured upon them because they were on one accord. And they were actually keeping the feast day, because say when the day of the Pentecost, which is not actually a feast day, when the Pentecost had fully come, that's when they actually began to see the move of Yah. They were actually operating in a system, is what I'm saying. And so we realized that we don't need to try to operate out of the system of Yah. We realize we operate in the system of Yah. And we operate in the system of Yah, we need people. And to understand that, that's the key. That's what the enemy don't want. That's why I say when there's two or more gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst. It's something he's doing, because he know that the wicked heart of man is selfish. Man wants to have it all to himself. He wants to be on the island and say, well, I did this, all by myself. We call a made man or a made woman, all this stuff, the world teaches you, you see this social media, people that saying they made it on their own and all this. Is like, I don't want to say I made it on my own. I want to say I made it by the grace of Yah and by him moving upon these people, upon situations to actually make a way for me. And so we realize that we're not an island and we just can't make it on our own. We'll realize that we don't have to operate in this system. And this is where we come at being stiff-necked. Stiff-necked is we let them minister unto us through propaganda, everything that we need to do, everything that we need to fix in order to be right or to be healed or whatever. Like, the world doesn't have an answer for us being healed. They don't have an answer. We have to realize what the Most High, the journey that he's taking us on. Certain people went on journeys of plant-based. Certain people went on journeys of not eating certain foods and stuff like that. And the reason why, because they may have felt like, okay, their body feel better when they don't. And this is just the wisdom of Yah. This isn't following no certain letter or no book or nothing like that. We know all we can eat. Why do all you can? It's like, I want to find out if even in everything I'm doing, am I doing something that the Most High wouldn't want me to do as much, even though it's okay to do it? Like, we don't have to look at when you think, oh, that's not a sin. That's not the approach. Does displease the Most High should be the approach. That's not a sin. That's not a sin. It's looking for a way to do as much as you can without getting in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Like that. So it's like Mom said, don't go across the street, but you playing on the edge of the street all day, not leaving. I mean, like that. Why play on the edge of the street? I mean, it's got to be harm somewhere as you begin to cross it, but you're trying to do all you can do so you don't worry about, crossing the line. But when you live on the edge like that, eventually you'll begin to cross it. I want to live in a position where I'm doing enough to set up boundary lines, set up certain guidelines and standards where I know for a fact I'm in the will of Yah. And I know that when things do happen, he said, okay, well, I know this is my son. He's not out of my will. You know what I'm saying? I gave him this particular leeway or this leverage to do this like that, and that's the way you operate. And these people be around for a long time. I mean, our people shouldn't be dying at the rate that they're dying, and at the ages they're dying in. They're dying because they don't really, like everybody that just die for nothing. People die for a reason. I think that the Most High will intervene and stop death from coming. Death is a spirit, it's a ruach. And so he's not going to just send the ruach of death upon you unless you do things to entice that. I had a cousin that was enticing that spirit constantly, over and over and over, inviting that spirit and talking about, when he's going to die and talking about he made it, just doing a lot of weird stuff on social media. I'm thinking like he's just inviting and flirting with the spirit of death like that. And it's like constantly flirting with it, and all of a sudden he gets killed because he's flirting with it. He kept talking about it. Oh, y'all missed me. Y'all didn't shoot me. And this and that, blah, blah, taunting the people and stuff like that. So the enemy sees that, he gets inside of them. Mind you, he hadn't dedicated himself to Yah. And so therefore, Yah is not intervening. We think Yah is like a genie in the bottle or something. He's not no genie in the bottle. He lives by certain guidelines. When you operate in these guidelines, he's obligated to help you. That's why the scriptures say he's not a man that he should lie, neither is he the son of man that he should repent. And this is the thing. So he's obligated to help you. And we look, I'm not going to turn to a lot of these scriptures. Even Moshe caused Yah to repent when he wanted to destroy the people. And Yah it says Yah repented of that. You know what I'm saying? He asked him to repent too, and he did. He hearkened unto Moshe, his servant, because Moshe knew him. This is the thing. When you begin to know Yah, you begin to have a voice of Yah like that. And it's like you'll begin to walk with Yah to a degree where he'll begin to hearken unto your words. And not in every case, but in certain cases, you'll have a soft spot in his heart where he'll begin to say, okay, look, I'm going to bend to what you're saying. There's a lot of times I had that soft spot where certain things I've asked y'all to do, a certain stuff, he'll do it just because. It's like we can't look at it always being something great and big, like just saving somebody's life. Simple things the Most High do, just like our children. They ask us to bring us something from the store, bring them something from the store, and we bring them from the store for them. Sometimes we may say no, and sometimes we say yes. It's the same situation. If we need something from Yah, then we have to make sure that, that we're in right standard to receive this thing from Yah. If we're not in the right place to receive it, then he's not going to do it every time. But if you're at least trying to live right to some degree and acknowledging him to some degree and setting up something, if you're living lawlessly, you're living like you don't have any laws, no rules, no regulations, like nothing matters. You found out you the people and you just run around like a heathen. Well, he's not trying to help you because you got it all wrong. You have to realize that now you belong to him. It's like, this is the thing right here. I'm going to leave on this note. It's like we have to realize that if I say that, Yahushua Mashiach is over me as head, and I'm head of my family, my wife, and then the Most High is head of him. If I'm finna do something and I tell and he say don't do that, and I'm gonna do it anyway, he's no longer my head. It's like I'm doing what I want to do at that point. So it's like now at this point, I've said that look, I don't have a headship. I want to operate as a bastard. Because that's what I'm doing. So that's why I have to look at it. If he don't have the power to overthrow my rule, then he's not my head. That means I'm my head. He has to have the power to overthrow what I want to do. And when I give him that authority in my life, that's when I become his. So at that point, since he can overthrow it, he has an issue with people that try to do that. He has an issue with people that try to come and interrupt my peace. That's why he said, take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy, my burden is light. That's what we begin to say. So he'll give you rest for your soul. And that rest comes in that when people try to get you at an unrest situation, he's going to arrest them. That's the thing. He's going to put them in a position where like, no, you can't do that. And no matter how it happens, I've seen it so many times, with certain people, it's almost like he's making the words come out their mouth. They're telling you something that you knew that was supposed to happen, even though they said, don't do it. I've been on jobs and been called back to work. And the very boss that told me I wasn't going to get my job back left that answer machine call, and it sounded very dry. It's like someone making the words come out. So if you want your job back, you can come to work in the morning. It's like the Most High just made him say it like that. I know that's comfortable, like that. But the Most High just made him actually say that because of the fact that I was here. And that was at a point in time where I was doing a lot of fasting, a lot of praying, a lot of reading the word, and just a lot of just witnessing and stuff like that. So the Most High was just showing me that he was with me in spite of that man firing me. He made that same guy, the exact same one, call back and say, you can get your job back, what he said. This is how we have to operate. But on that note, y'all, that's going to end it for today. We just got to make sure that we're operating under the guidelines of Yah. That's why I get an example. He's the umbrella that we operate under, and through Yahushua Mashiach, and we operate under that umbrella. Though the storm comes and rain, it's not going to rain upon us. A little water may sprinkle on, but it won't soak us if we operate under his pavilion and not ours. Father, y'all, we just thank you right now for the word that went forth. We thank you right now for just being with us this day. We thank you right now for just constantly allowing us to be guided and be led by the Ruach HaKodesh. In the name of your son, Yahushua Mashiach, we pray, so be it.